Hi, welcome to Coffee with Carmelo. My name is Siobhan Gonzalez. I'm the business developer here at United Professional Engineering. I have our president and owner, Carmelo Giglio, with us today. And Carmelo, today we want to talk about, please tell us what is the difference? What is a phase one and a phase two inspection?
Yeah, so well, that's you know, I can share a lot about that, and I'll do the best I can, or well, we'll try to condense it the best we can too. But so the phase one, I think if you know obviously, but I don't know that everybody out there does. But I was in Surfside Working Group, and that's where the phase one and phase two definitions or languages came up. They were, when we were in Surfside Working Group, it was basically a group that was put together to provide recommendations for recertifications around the state after Surfside collapse, right? After Champlain Tower South collapse. And, we recommended a lot of things. And in one of our meetings, one of the engineers suggested that, what they do is a phase one and a phase two inspection. And so the phase one at that time were 40-year inspections. So what they did was a 40-year inspection. They called it a phase one. And they said if you fail the phase one, you go to a phase two. And a phase two is a more thorough condition assessment. That's all it was, okay? So what happened was this is where the story gets really longer and in depth, and I don't know how far I want to get into it, but what happened was the Senate, when they wrote the first bill, they based it on Surfside Working Group's white paper. And so they based it on Surfside Working Group's white paper. It got sent to the House. And at the House did not like the language, so they added their own stuff. And that's where this language called substantial structural deterioration came up. So what that did is set the criteria for a pass-fail essentially on a phase one. So what the House was trying to say was that if you fail a phase one, because you can fail a phase one because you have substantial structural deterioration. Okay, meaning that you have a lot of damage essentially. Now there's a specific definition for it, and so I said we could talk for hours about this particular thing, and I don't want to get too far off in the weeds just for this setting here. But so anyway, today what we have is you have a phase one inspection. It's essentially a watered down or cursory condition assessment of the building. Different engineers are doing different percentages. A lot of times, we walk into about 30% of balconies, et cetera, and we'll walk common areas. Different engineers, I've seen even 10% some engineers are doing it, which is very low. But the idea is if you walk the building, you get an idea whether there's major damage or not, or does it need repairs in general. And if it needs repairs, again, the current law, the way it's written, is saying that if you have substantial structural deterioration, that only in that case would you go to a phase two. I think what's really important for everybody to understand is substantial structural deterioration is an extremely subjective definition. And it's, what I'm seeing is a lot of engineers are approaching it as if it's a major problem. So you have a lot of structural damage. And if what I've seen buildings pass that have structural damage, but the engineer is passing the inspection because it's not substantial enough, which is pretty absurd because back when the original 40-year inspection was in place, you would just fail the inspection because you needed repairs. So now we have a bit of a convoluted situation with the language. And my upset is that it was never intended to be the way it is. And the substantial structural deterioration definitions made things pretty confusing. So again, just to try to recap, the phase one is just supposed to be a summary, a cursory structural assessment, structural condition assessment, okay? A cursory structural condition assessment. And then if you fail that, you go to the phase two. And the phase two is a more thorough structural condition assessment with testing, et cetera. It's up to the engineer's discretion on what they want to do for that. So that's kind of a simplified explanation of it. But there's a lot more to it regarding the whole conversation about substantial structural deterioration, which I think we can get to in another sit down, because it's causing its own complexity, in my opinion. And it is one of the things that I've been working on is I want to talk to legislators, and I am starting to talk to my colleagues already, because it's really a goofy definition. And instead of making things more safe, it hasn't done that. And that the intent of the new law was to make things more safe. And in reality, what you have is a situation now, a building can pass, it's phase one, even though it has a lot of damage. And so let's on another sit down, let's talk about that. Let's talk about substantial structural deterioration. What does that mean? And what does that mean for safety in our world, right? For the condo world. And we can talk about that another time, because that's a whole nother in-depth discussion. So, and again, people can reach out to us if they need more clarity with this. So.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, I think that it would be important to go into that more on the next video. So if you have a question, call Carmelo. And for more Coffee with Carmelo, stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one.